family said, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "We are so okay." I was one of those people walking out on Jacksonville Beach, and we were careful. We had social distancing, and people just had this opportunity to actually refresh themselves on the beach in a way that was socially responsible. And I think that our government officials are trying to do the right thing. There's a lot of limited access. There's patrols all the time. And if we choose not to behave, this beach will not stay open. So I wanted to thank everybody, and also for the record, let everyone know that everyone here in Jacksonville Beach is doing just fine. And if I could also add, Marla, welcome you to this refresh day, better known as Monday, because I don't know about you, but honestly, I have no idea what day it is anymore.
No, I tell everybody that this feels like Groundhog Day to me. And oddly, despite the fact that I think I've been now on my own for like 5 or 6 weeks, but it's gone really fast in a bizarre way because I'm super busy. I'm engaging with people I don't normally get to talk to. And I'm doing some fun stuff like the silly video I edited last weekend for our show today. I'm learning to edit. I'm learning to do things I haven't done in a billion years. But yes, it feels like Groundhog Day. And yet it's another Monday.
Yes, it is. And you bring up a really great point. There's so much opportunity in where we are. Like you, because we've had this discussion, we feel struggle, we feel real pain. We hear stories that are horrible that say, what do we do to help? And on the other side, there are the other kinds of stories of true resilience. And every day is a day we can reinvent ourselves. And Marla, your history of reinvention is pretty remarkable. And I know that you have a lot to share about what your experiences are that can help people give them a little, everyone wants to know what's going to happen tomorrow. That would be great. I have the woman who's going to tell you what's going to happen tomorrow. Not what's going to happen, but what could happen when you think about your life in a different way.
Well, I think reinvention is a lifelong process. And I don't think it's something, years ago, I was at a, graduation at Wellesley. And was it Wellesley? I can't remember which of the Ivy Leagues it was at. But one of the things that the woman said was, the dean of the students said, is if you came here and thought that what you were doing here was studying to become X, I assure you, you'll end up being Y, with the exception of a doctor, a lawyer, whatever. But if you had a general studies background, which is what I did, life now demands reinvention all the time. I look at my son, Jason, who thought, I'm going to move to LA. I'm going to sell real estate. I mean, he's like, well, I don't know what's going to happen next. None of us know. But I think unless we are just a stupid bunch of people, we can't help but come out of this better. There isn't a negative thing that's ever happened in my life that didn't somehow open a door to something better. And this is the biggest tragedy that I've seen occur in my lifetime, and it is global. And I think it's teaching us that what happens in Wuhan happens in Paris, happens in New York.
And happens in Jacksonville Beach. Hello.
But to a much lesser degree. Any of us living in big cities are really feeling the impact of this thing.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Let me give a little bit of your background, if I could. And before I do that, I just want to say when you said, if a door closes, a window opens, I read a great thing the other day. Just make sure you're not locked in the closet.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Right.
All right, so Marla Ginsburg Wynne. She is a Hollywood producer, great shows like La Femme Nikita and Highlander. I think you're living in Europe as well. I find very successful, all of that. The writer's strike happens, the recession happens, and you are now living in a friend's garage.
No, I was not living in a garage. I was living in my big house that I couldn't afford to pay for anymore. And I was sewing in my garage. What I did do is sleep on our friend Melinda and Ken's couch on more than one night because I was commuting back and forth eventually from Montreal where I moved. But it was a big reinvention because I went from making TV shows to making clothes and jewelry.
Right, because you had so much experience with your sewing machine, didn't you?
You're right.
Yeah,
You know.
which is like incredible, incredible. And I have to just say, so Melinda, our friend Melinda Wolf said, you have to meet my friend Marla. You have to talk to her. And like whenever, and we both feel this way. We all have friends. I mean, this is what I love about Generation W is this incredible connectivity, this family that has gotten really big but feels so intimate because it has this core of trust. Right? So you call
Explain to my viewers what Generation W
I
is.
am going to do that, but before I do that, I'm going to show Marla Wynne, Bo, get ready, at her premiere debut at Generation W in 2019, and our theme happened to be #transformation. So, Bo, whenever you're ready, we would love to see that clip.
Change fueled by passion or need can happen for the better, but a few tips. Find, nurture, and maintain strong relationships, which obviously by your being here today, you understand. And yes, bridges will burn, and friendships will be lost and found along the way. It is a circuitous path, but you stay the course. It leads to growth, inner strength, awareness, and an ability to face risk and come out the victor. There isn't one way to get there. Follow your instincts guided by careful planning. And keep going when you feel lost, one day at a time.
I had the best time doing that, Donna. It was so much fun. I loved it.
Why was it so much fun?
Well, first of all, normally when I'm in front of a camera, it's much like it is in my house. There's a few crew guys and a host, but I'm by myself in this big room, and my antics and my crazy, I just let it cut loose because nobody's there. When I walked out on that stage, and there were how many thousands of people? There was like, how many women were there?
1,300.
1,300 women. And they're looking at you.
Yeah.
It's like,
but loving you.
Yeah, but like, oh, when I goof up, nobody's going to bleep it. Nobody's going to, it was very intimidating. But once I just started to rock and roll with it, I had the best time. Like, I realized I really love being, first of all, I enjoy being on camera. Second of all, I enjoy being on camera with people I enjoy being on camera with. On HSM, when I'm there, I'm with hosts and models that I really love. Through these Facebook Lives, I've gotten to be with people like yourself and other friends of mine. And I've gotten the opportunity to share in a very intimate way. And I think that Gen W for me was very intimate because it was really the first time I kind of boldly told my story in public. But that story is now 10 years old, and it's a I thought it was going to be my last reinvention. Well, ha ha ha. We're going to be reinventing our whole world, I think, in many ways right now. You've had an interesting circuitous career yourself.
Yeah.
Although you didn't fall on your tuchus the way I did. Can you tell us a little bit about, how you came to where you are now?
Briefly, I think a lot of it, I have to give credit to my life, which was very focused around sports. I played sports as a young girl when most girls didn't play sports. That shaped my mind in ways I can see much better now. It brought me into television. So as you know, I've been a television producer, director, writer, ran all of global television and production and digital and programming and all of that for the PGA Tour. Again, I stayed in sports. I was a professional athlete. So I got to compete at the highest level. I had this opportunity to be an athlete. I coached a little bit, but not really. I was a business executive in sport. I am the mom of athletes, and of course, had the privilege when my friend Adam Silver asked me if I would come and be at that point, the president of the WNBA. And it was there that I really learned about the connectivity of women and the disconnection around women. And so when my stint there was done, this idea of creating a place that elevated women's voices, that was all about opportunity, that created this powerful connection and inspiration that comes when you bring people together in a way that they show up authentically, like you did, even with your doubts. You shared your doubts with me. That's how Generation W started, and since then it's just grown to this year-round platform all around women, girls, and men who are absolutely embraced and included, and all in the service of being our best selves and creating our best lives and communities. So it's really soul fulfilling work. I mean,
My son came with me to Gen W, and he really liked the odds, the ratio of women to men. That was really good. And I think he was one of the youngest men there. So he was like just a little pig in duty. But I will tell you that Dr. Eggers, who spoke there, I think she had a transformative impact on him. And I think that being there, my son, I remember sitting on the balcony with him saying, I love your life. I love that you're getting to do this. I love being here. So it was great for men and for women, but it was amazing meeting all these young women and all the work that you do. And I look forward to getting back down there again this year. I know you guys had to move the conference, but everything's just kind of gotten moved back in our lives, right?
Yeah, yes, they do. And that's what it precipitated. You talk about reinvention. We're like, okay, what is the essence of who we are? That's what I think everyone should be asking. What's the essence of who you are? Our friend Lisa Shallett sent us a note yesterday. She said, what comes in the absence? There's a lot of absence now, right? We're not running all these different places. And in the quiet of that absence, what are we learning about ourselves that we truly love? Right? And you, in your absence, you found that you love fashion. And look what you've done. So tell us more about that, because I think your story of being here, and listen, when you're a Hollywood person, regardless, part of that culture is you have to think you're all that more, right?
Well, you don't realize that the power belongs to the chair you're in, not the butt that you happen to be sitting on. So, one of the things you learn when you have a big job is that when you leave that job, a lot of people leave with you, because Hollywood is a very, I used to say, okay, here's a Hollywood hello. Hi, who are you? Where do you work? And what can you do for me? It's like, how can I use you? Because up next, like, oh, I write sitcoms, you do drama, next. It's a town that the turnover is fast and furious, and you can be the flavor of the month. I chose to leave and go to Europe. I've kind of always been somebody who looks for a white space and tries to fill it. I think, I was thinking about some of the things we talked about the other day, preparing for this. When I got into television, I started in a ridiculous way. I mean, I was doing reality TV back then, and I was one of the original producers, field producers, segment producers, I guess they called them in those days, for Entertainment Tonight. And I moved up the food chain because I was in Chicago. So I covered everything that was happening between LA and New York. And guess what? There's a lot that happens in what the business calls the flyover states, because to most people in LA and New York, you just fly over the rest of the country. Well, I was in the middle of the flyover states. And that meant I was doing a ton of stories. So that led to me, being one of the youngest women in the DGA, right? I was filling a white space. When I moved to Europe, I was filling a white space because I felt like there was a way to have the life I wanted, living the way I wanted in Europe. But the white space was that European companies weren't making television for American companies. And we were really on the forefront of changing that, because Highlander and La Femme Nikita were both productions that came out of Europe. When I came back to the US and wanted to start a clothing company, well, I didn't come back to the US wanting to start a clothing company. I came back to work at ABC Touchstone, and then the writer's strike hit, and I thought, okay, what's next? And I definitely wanted to be in fashion, but it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to make clothes or evening gowns, or no, I actually studied the market and said, where's the white space? And where the white space was in two areas. There was not a lot of apparel that fit our changing bodies as we get a little bit older, and there was very little for us older women. So, at 50,
you like to say seasoned.
Yes, I'm seasoned and spicy. And
yeah, you are.
Some are sweet, some are spicy, so sweet and sour. But I looked at it, and I had gained a lot of weight, and clothes weren't fitting me properly. But I didn't want to just make plus size clothes or regular size clothes. I wanted to make clothes that could fit all shapes and sizes of women. I kind of felt like, if you got lady parts, you should have clothes, like it shouldn't be like, this is plus and this is for older women and this is for younger women. And I had an aesthetic that my daughter would steal clothes out of my closet, and my friends of all different ages loved the way I dressed. And I thought, well, maybe there's something to this. And so I started to look and see, where is the white space? And I found the white space in the plus size market and in women over 40, 45, and in sort of just an easy elegance, like easy clothes, well priced, fair price. So I studied the market and I sort of found this little white space for myself, fitting in, really making clothes for women. We do extra small through 3X, so we cover all sizes. We're a very generous fit, very easy fit. I mean, this is Ranspan. I love it. I live in it. I sleep in it. I kid you not.
All right, so Marla, let me just ask you this. There's a couple. First of all, let me just say this. I just got some notes. High technology as we do this. A little hellos this morning from Diane Reynolds, by the way, a great friend who is reinventing herself in South Carolina these days. You should check yours. Latoya White, Nikki Glover, Megan Green, Marianne Hill Jacoby. Chris Reese is a guy who is on, wherever we are, he is. And Chris, I just want to say thank you. Aja, our great friend Sharon LaShurla Royce, she says hello. So all these people are saying hello, which is really cool. You're talking a lot about your clothes, which I think you should. I have a couple of questions for you. First, I'm going to ask you one, then I'd like to show what your clothes look like, because we've had a lot of friends that you have actually reinvented their sense of themselves with this, which is another reinvention. But you talked about white space. I love white space too, but a lot of people, when you see white space, there's nothing there. And that's frightening. So what kind of advice do you have for people who are sitting in their homes, perhaps now, contemplating their future in a good way, but are seeking white space, but they see it and it's like, oh my God.
Well, I'll tell you a little story. So I used to get to go to Cannes, and there's another conference called MIPCOM, and it's in this palais in Cannes, and there's a red carpet, and everybody would line up in the morning to go down the red carpet to, hello. I would walk around to the back of the palais where the garbage is, go to the back door because it was open, and I'd be sitting in the palais and had my pick of famous people to meet or the people I wanted to see, because I just thought, I don't need the attention going in the front door. I'm going to go in the back door. I have always preferred the back door. I don't like waiting in lines, right? And when you're building a business, if you are afraid of the white space, you may want to think about not being an entrepreneur, in my opinion, because the white space is where there's opportunity. Everybody chases millennials. Well, my attitude about millennials, and I own 2 of them, is that they're going to, end up being older at some point. We'll be waiting for them. Everybody chases a demographic that everybody chases. Why would you start a business chasing the same thing everybody else chases? So I think what's scary is to not be in the white space. That's what scares me.
No, I get that. And I think there are people who have incredible passions and ideas. But the question is but are afraid to take perhaps that first step into the white space.
Well, it's really damn scary. And I'll tell you what, had I not had the writer's strike and the economic crash, I might not have had the courage to do it. I mean, it was a little crazy when I picked up and left the studios and moved to Europe, but I did it because I am attracted to the unknown. I am definitely somebody who loves the unknown. And by the way, Anne has joined us from Texas. Carol from upstate. Bo is helping me because for some reason, I can't get on my own. I'm a Luddite, which for those of you who don't know means I'm just technologically impaired.
Okay, then we get that. So let me ask you this question. So how do you re-envision your life? So Marla, I think you're giving short shrift to the fact that you were doing this thing over here.
Right.
Like fashion. You didn't know how a sewing machine worked, yet you went and bought one and started sewing, right? What's the mindset that allows you to re-envision a shift in your life? I'll tell you, I know that Nikki Glover is watching and she's a great banker, but she also is a caterer and saw herself creating this company. It is called Courageous Spoon. We love supporting her. She was able to take that mindset and her fears, put them aside and pursue her passion.
Well, first of all, the minute you're in a comfort zone, you're not growing. You're not. Discomfort and challenge is what makes us grow. And to me, the unknown is exciting and interesting. What I know, I know. I always want to know more. So the only way to know more is to do things that I don't know how to do and learn how to do them. You know, Bo and I were laughing because I literally did spend a whole day editing that little piece. And I thought, well, that's okay, because now I'm learning how to edit, and that's fun, and it's a new skill set. So to me, everything is about a new skill set or a new group of people or how to do something. And I think that if, you know, fear is it can be a great motivator. And it's uncomfortable. Change is uncomfortable. But being comfortable is boring.
Well, you know, yes. Yes and no, right? I think as women, we live multi-layered, multi-textured lives. And it's, you know, you can be challenged in your work. If you have a family at home, or if you're, you know, have a different, or if you are nurturing a relationship, sometimes being comfortable in 2 out of the 3 at one time is not a bad thing.
Oh, I think there's pockets of comfort. I mean, my pocket of comfort has always been my friends, and that's been a constant throughout. So I've always had that. But when it comes to my professional life, as soon as I mastered something, I wanted something else. It was like I was never interested in, for example, even in the company I've created now. So we did clothes, now we do jewelry, now we're planning to do handbags and home goods and blah, blah, blah. And we'll keep expanding, because every new expansion is a whole new experience.
Right.
And so to me, white space means opportunity. Yes, it can be a little scary. And if, you know, what we don't know is what's frightening to us. It's what creates so many negative things in our culture, right? What we don't know, you know, we're afraid of. And as soon as you know others, you know, people from other cultures, other languages, other religions, once you get to know them, you realize, oh, you just want to create a home for your family, be loved, love your children, have them be safe. We find out we have many, many commonalities, but when we don't know, we're scared,
True.
right?
And we're all scared. We live in a world of fear. I mean, we're all scared. We do not know. I think if we ask people now, let me just quickly share. Last night about 6 o'clock, I got a text from a young high school girl. She goes, Donna, and she told me her name. I have lots of questions in my life. I don't know what's happening. Will you be my mentor? She's 16 or 17 years old. I mean, she represents, right, a sea field of people, male, female, from 13 to 80, I think. Don't you?
Absolutely. I do think so. And I think one of the things we have to teach young women and our children, and by the way, one of the reasons I think, I mean, one of the big things I say, and I think I said it when I gave my speech at Gen W, we have to teach our daughters team sports. Because through team sports, we learn that we can't always be on the front line. Sometimes we have to take the back seat, but every player on the team is critical to win. Anybody, you know, one player lets the other down, you're lost. And I think that's true in life. And I think that our kids are going to have a real challenge, but in a way, they may be wiser than us, because what this is showing you is that shit happens. I know no one who has gotten through life unscathed. You know, I say to people all the time, like, Steve Jobs is dead. You know, like, it's like nobody gets through it without change. And the smartest thing we can do is to teach our children to expect the unexpected and to be more comfortable with change and transformation. Because what's going on right now, there's nothing we can do about it except protect ourselves, protect our families, and protect others by wearing our gloves and our masks and whatever. And practice social distancing, but we have become incredibly aware that the future is uncertain. The only thing we have, Donna, is this moment right now. It is the moment. I learned that when I lost my money. I learned it when my son was sick. I'm learning it now as we go through this, that you think your life is going to go this way. Well, be prepared for it to swing another way, because it can happen to anyone. You know, I always thought I was impervious until I wasn't. So, you know, that is a key. Somebody just wrote in, Mary Parrish is asking, how do you start to break out of your comfort zone? You break out of your comfort zone by being willing to accept that you have very little control in life. Your comfort zone is this little safety thing that doesn't have change. To make change, you have to leave the house, so to speak. But even us, look at us right now, we're changing in our homes. To break out of your comfort zone, you have to be willing to be unafraid of the unknown. That's it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but you have to move yourself to that unafraid. I've had someone ask a question for you. Did you have naysayers along the way, and how did you deal with
Oh
them?
my God, naysayers! I had people laugh at me. I remember that one of the first things I made was this vest that if you wore it one way, it was short, and if you flipped it the other way, it was long. And I show up at a party, a very Hollywood party, very beautiful party, given by friends of mine who I was very close to, and you know how filtered I am. So I walk in with this thing I've made in my garage, and I'm like, hey, look at this thing I made. It does this, it does this. And everybody was like, you know, it was during the writer's strike, and they looked at me like, Marla, what did you do? Like, if I had written a script during the writer's strike or learned to edit or make a movie, everybody would understand that. But no, I show up at a party with this like show and tell of what I'm making, and they thought I was out of my mind. I mean, my friends were deeply concerned. They were like, you know nothing about clothes, you know nothing about sewing, you know nothing about, you don't know anything about this. And I said, well, when I started in the entertainment industry, I didn't know anything about it. I came out of college. I knew nothing. I was selling myself on my potential. And I learned, why can't I sell myself on my new potential? Why can't I learn another trick? You know, you can teach an old dog new tricks, I'm here to tell you. And to me, it's just the fun of learning new things.
But okay, now in learning new things, you're going to have success and failure.
Yeah, well, people are going to
You have
laugh
to
when you're
learn
good.
how to fail as well. I mean, should failure be this negative? Oh, I can't fail.
You want to know what? When I go to interview people,
Yeah.
I like to hire people who have failed.
Why?
Because that's how you learn. You do not learn by getting it right all the time. You learn through failure. I've learned more and grown more in the past 10 years of my life. So I'm 64, so 54 to 64, than I did from one, well, okay, I guess growing and, you know, learning how to eat and go to the bathroom by myself were big accomplishments at the time. But other than just human.
That's classic Marla. If you don't know Marla, that's classic Marla.
Classic,
Marla.
But the point is, I mean, yes, I learned a lot from 1 to 54, but the fact of the matter is, in terms of life experience, these past 10 years have been jam-packed. And I think that, I don't know, I don't know what else I can say. I mean, it's just, learning is everything. I'm a lifelong learner, and that fills your days, and it makes life exciting, and it keeps your brain working.
Yeah, and yeah, so we're all about that. But I have to just say, because I'm monitoring here, I love like Helen Adder sent in notes and Aja, but everybody is fascinated with that moment, right? So it's different people. I can hear it, I can feel it. I am afraid. I get that I'm uncomfortable. How do I take that first step? What's gonna push me through? You know what I mean?
So in the beginning, I
mean, you showed up wearing a funky vest to a Hollywood party. Clearly, you had no concerns. Most people would not do that, Marla.
Listen, being an entrepreneur isn't for everybody. Let's be clear about that. Like,
by the way, this isn't just about being an entrepreneur, but yes, you're right. You're right.
And some people are very comfortable being comfortable. I get uncomfortable when I'm too comfortable. But if you are afraid, then start to learn. It's what I said before. Lean into what you're afraid of. Whatever you're afraid of, lean into it. I remember being a little kid, one of the things I learned growing up, to dive into the water, right?
Yep.
I remember standing there with water, you know, like I'm imagining water wings, but I can't remember the water wings, but I'm sure I had them. And standing on the board, or maybe it was before water wings, is that possible? And I remember looking into the water, and I was scared to death of the water. And then I just leaned in, and it was a magical experience. Leaning into whatever you're afraid of you will find it's not nearly as scary as you thought. And by the way, if you educate yourself about whatever you're going to lean into, you want to write a book, you want to do a movie, you want to create a cupcake company, you want a new relationship, you want to stay with your husband, you want to leave your husband, you want new friends, whatever it is, lean into your authentic self. Be fearless about being who you are. You know, people say, well, what would they think? Well, first of all, I don't know who the hell they are anyway. I don't care about them. I care about you. I care about the people that are in my life and that I know. And the people who know and love me are going to know and love me when I'm successful, when I'm a failure. They know they can laugh at me or with me. Either way, I'm comfortable. But I have always leaned into my fears. So my advice is, if you are afraid, pursue the very thing that you are afraid of.
Awesome. Awesome. Now I have to just say, some of the caffeinated people are interested in Generation W. And you said to me, why don't you talk about Generation W? And I said, why don't you? Because you have a story about how you came and what you experienced. And I figured your story is far better than mine.
Donna, you have screwed this thing around so that you're interviewing me. I wanted to interview you.
I'm here. Ask the questions. Lean in, sister. No, but would you answer that for your group?
So I went to Gen W because my friend Melinda Wolf said it's fabulous. And whatever Mindy tells me to do, I kind of do because she's usually right. Which is how I ended up living on the Upper West Side in New York and doing many things in my life. So she said, you really should do this. And she said, and I think you'd be a good speaker. And I'm like, what am I going to talk? Yeah. So blah, 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 blah. She connected us. And I got there, I was overwhelmed by the number of people. And a true funny story, I got there and there were these amazing women speaking before me. I mean, amazing. But I realized they were more prepared than I were because they had their little speeches written out for the teleprompter. And I freaked out because I suddenly realized, like, I can't carry a mic and go through my speech and I don't have it memorized and I can't just, you know, blah, blah, blah and say whatever. So I sat backstage furiously typing in my bullet points into a computer that then I was able to have a teleprompter. And I got out there, I gave my speech, it was amazing. And then once I was done, I could sit back. And the next speaker was awesome, Dr. Edwards. And not only was that amazing, but the women that I met. I mean, Jamie has become a dear friend. I just adore her. Kelly Wallace, so many of the people that cluster around you. You're like the Pied Piper of optimism. And I immediately saw that in you. You decide to lead, and some of the most powerful, smart, sometimes stubborn women in the world just go, okay, Donna, here we are. And they show up year after year because it is food for your soul. Gen W is food for your soul. I walked away on clouds. My son walked away on clouds, and somebody said to me, if you go to Gen W, it will bring joy to you throughout your year. And the fact of the matter is, it did through the friendships I made, the people I met, getting to know you, Cassia, Betty, all the different people that I've met through the organization. It was an unexpected blessing.
It is, and it is a blessing, right? It is a blessing, right?
Yeah.
And here we are. And let me show you some of the other blessings. I think people should just see this. Bo, get ready those photographs if you would. So Marla met all these people, and she is about reinvention. And we talk about life reinvention. You talked to me, and I wrote some of the things down. I loved in your talk, you said, when you're afraid, you just take it one day at a time. You said, lean into your authentic self, and then also lean into your fears. But you also create clothes, and clothes is a way that we wrap ourselves in reinvention every day. Like, I knew I was going to be with you today, and I know that Marla's always going to wear this beautiful necklace, and I'm like, I don't have any of those, by the way. I need to order some. She's going to analyze the fabric I'm having, because I've had these moments with her, and they're really fabulous. But she did take some of the women we know, and she kind of reinvented them, and these women were afraid. I know two in particular who did not want to do this.
I know, and they did
it
anyway.
And yet, here they are. So, Bo, when you can, show us those photographs of Marla Wynne.
So this is Jamie, who's a very dear friend of both Donna's and mine. Jamie is like my favorite new person of 2019. And Jamie had a very specific way of dressing. and she knew she wanted to change it up. And she came to see me, and I said, okay, Jamie, if we're going to do this, like, I'm going to, you know, balls to the wall, honest. And she said, go for it. Well, it was a transformation. I mean, first of all, Jamie's so beautiful from the inside out, but she didn't really understand the balance of clothes, like flowy on the top, skinny on the bottom. I don't think she ever thought about really sort of her feminine self. We had so much shooting her, and she was wonderful to shoot. She totally embraced it. She was scared, but she ended up so, well, it was just one of the best shoots ever. And yes, she was incredibly nervous, and she looked great in every photo we took.
Okay, and then there's Betty M. Baum.
So Betty, first of all, Betty is one of the most magnificent creatures. She is as brilliant as she is beautiful. Betty, how old is Betty? She's in her, what, early 30s?
I did not ask her.
She is exquisite. She is bright, and typically the kind of clothes I make might not be for her. And yet she jumped into them, made them look fabulous. And I think she found things for herself and things for her mom. And I love when shopping, you know, you play, you know, basketball, that's your sport, or golf. My sport is shopping. So whenever my daughter and I can share our sport, I love it. Betty's just an extraordinary.
She's extraordinary. And she's going to be speaking. I just meant to say it's Dr. Betty M. Baum. She has her PhD in cell and molecular biology.
That's a dumb girl.
We all just love her, and she will be back. She will be moderating. Actually, we're doing a whole thing on AI this coming year, on artificial intelligence in the theme of vision, the things we see and the things we don't see. So Betty's great, and you made her look great, and that's great. And I think there's one more here.
Kasha.
We know and love, and that is Kasha.
So she came in, and I was really delighted when she said yes. First of all, because I mean, I think she's a huge part of what makes Gen W tick, and she was absolutely my Obi-Wan Kenobi in traversing getting there the first time and what I was supposed to do. Working with her was a joy, because Kasha's like, I don't know, 6 foot tall. She's a tall, beautiful woman. And we had a blast dressing her, and I always feel like sunshine enters the room when she's with us.
Right, she's great. Oh, I'm sorry, there's one more. Hey, Kosh. And Kelly, of course, the beautiful and wonderful Kelly Wallace, who's been a great friend, has been part of Generation W now for years, not only on the stage, but a true content inspiration.
And look at the great age spread in the women that even you're just seeing on the screen. And the lives. I mean, Kelly was with CNN for many years. She's reinvented herself. Every one of these women, and there were others that who came to visit us at our studio that we never got to photograph. And the truth about clothing, but you can take those down. The truth about clothing is, you know, we always say don't judge a book by its cover, but we do.
Of course.
And we make choices about how we present ourselves in the world. I've made a very conscious choice, particularly during this period, that when I walk out, even if it's to walk the dog, okay, there's a few days I walked out in my pajamas, let's be honest, okay. But for the most part, I choose to walk out sunny, dressed, happy, and be a positive presence in a negative space. And I think clothing says, what kind of person are you? The way I dress says I'm casual, I'm easy, I'm not fussy about how I am in the world.
Yeah, but you're put together, Marla. That's like, come on. But you are put together.
Yeah, I'm put together, but
I aspire to be put together. My happy
make you our newest
my gym shorts, my t-shirt, my sneakers. I mean, that is my happy space, okay? So a lot of us need help with this. And I just got a note that said, Sharon like a fashion show at Gen W. And the other thing I looked at is I looked at Kelly's necklace. You know, we have been talking about doing a Gen W necklace with Marla Wynne. And we tried, and that one looked at me, and I looked at that, and it's like a circle, and in it were all those stones. And it's kind of like, to me, all of a sudden it meant like, here's my world, and here's all the little pieces and parts of me that I can make better in my world.
I know exactly which one you're talking about. I'll see what we can do. We can figure that out.
But now can people vote? I want this, I want that, I want this, whatever it is. Another person wants to know how important, and you did address this earlier, for women to embrace their bodies at any and every stage. And I think this was the rationale for actually your line.
Well, it's an interesting thing. So when I just lost 30 pounds this past year. And I did it actually because I had a foot injury, and my doctor said, well, it's surgery or you got to get weight off of it. He said, you might want to lose a little. I was like, thank you. But I did it. So I have been over 200 pounds, and now I'm, I think, somewhere around 160. So I've shifted over the years my weight, and I have found I was never upset about my weight. Like, I didn't say, oh, I want to lose weight because I'll be prettier or I'll look better or whatever. Although when I was looking at the Gen W thing, I went like, boy, girl, you were kind of big then. You know,
But I say it every time I look at something on Gen W, but about me, not you.
But here's the thing. Being pretty was never my currency. I was never a pretty girl, but at least certainly not by boy standards. I was attractive, but I was not a pretty girl. It wasn't my currency. And so I never really negatively judged how I looked because what was I going to do about it? And as I've aged, I'm actually really pleased with the way it's going, except for my hands, which have aged really fast. I used to have them.
I saw something on Twitter that changes it like that. I'm sure you can order it.
Well, I'll have to look at that. But, no Botox, no facelift, no nothing. I'm very, very comfortable in my own skin, but I think it's because my currency was always a sense of humor. My currency was the ability to face my fears and just throw myself into new situations. So it's a, body, I really encourage people to kind of accept whatever your body type is. We can always learn to use clothing to make us feel more comfortable with the skin we're in.
And what happens if you're not comfortable in clothing? What's the first three quick things, because we're going to have to sign off in a few minutes. 3 quick things that somebody who's not comfortable that in the clothing space, get them started.
You have to understand proportion. You have to understand your body shape and height and balance. It's like architecture. You need to understand what colors work best on you and what shapes work best on you. And then you have to find the correct fit. A lot of people have this sense of their bodies that they're either thinner or fatter than they really are.
Yes.
And so sometimes they're actually in the wrong size. And so it's really about understanding proportion and color is basically what I would say. So I'm going to wrap this up just a little bit by asking you a question, because I think it's something that you do so well. I asked you earlier, what do you do when life throws you a curveball?
Yeah, I catch it and throw it back.
So what do you suggest for living your best life? What can you tell the people who've tuned in from my side of this conversation that because you are one of the happiest glass full, your glass could be half empty and you think your glass is full. And what do you say to people? How do you live your best life? How do you find that everyday joy?
Well, actually, I am blessed, and I know that our team at Gen W, and it's Stacy and Christina and Tara and Ruth. I'm looking because we are the Brady Bunch, and Elizabeth and Sherry and Kasha and Stacy and Jamie. We get to talk about this every day because that's our work. Generation W. I mean, it is about our founding principles. It's about education. It's educating. It's about learning, right? So I love to learn. And so how do we bring learning and the best of learning and inspire each other to have curiosity? Absolutely, right? That, and especially as our lifespans change and grow and get longer. Next week, we're going to be talking to the amazing Leah Jewell, who's an expert. You remember Leah, I believe. I think she was there with you, who talked about what's the future of learning in a life that's changing so much. So
that's a huge topic. Now, that's fabulous.
And then number two, and then we're going to do it next Wednesday. So we can do caffeinated on Monday, and we can do refresh on Wednesday at noon with the amazing Leah Jewell. So how about that? The second thing would be inspiration. How do we be there? How do we show up for ourselves, and how do we show up for others with a message of hope? Honestly, if we don't have hope, we don't have lives that we can believe in. And the third thing, so we have educating, inspiring, and then we have connecting. And I always talk about, Marla, like, look at this. The superpower I believe in after working 30 years in big companies, little companies, being an entrepreneur, right? Raising a family, the things that we do with our Generation Wow Girls, which is our team mentorship program, Gen W Women, Gen Wow Girls, which is spreading all over the country based on our curriculum that we got out of our book Wowsdom, which is the Wow of Girls and the Wisdom of Women. Okay, those are my plugs. Is connection. It's the power of connection. And what you are doing through your clothing line and your communication is about connecting people to themselves in a really real way. You know, other people sell clothes.
Yeah, I don't sell clothes. I sell a feeling.
That's not you. And we can all see that today. And so what we work on every day, what Gen W is, our big event. But then all of our work during the year is all about connecting people in authentic ways that allows them to learn and be inspired and be their best selves. And so September 11th, I'm going to say God willing, because we're going to have to continue to monitor how we are all doing in the pandemic. It will be great, but this is part of our work now. And if we weren't doing this, we'd be doing in person our refresh. We do our work for girls all year round. I said because we have Wow clubs and we're doing virtual Wow clubs. So I am so blessed. I'm so glad you got me to answer that, because it makes me realize how aligned my passions are with our work, with honestly what I am living, what I believe. And when you get aligned like that, it's like, it's kind of nice.
It's great. And I would love for the people who follow me to follow you. So what we'll do is we'll make sure that we do, when you're getting ready for registration to open up for September, and if it's already open, we'll post a link so that the people who've tuned in today can link to Gen W. I can honestly say to the people that are here from my part of this conversation that whoever told me that going for 2 days or 3 days to Jacksonville, Florida would carry with me for 365 plus days, because it got pushed back, would carry me in a very positive way. It's true. And I tell the truth, and I do it in my own unfiltered way. And I don't see how anyone can lose by going there. You can't lose.
Well, that's so sweet. And we appreciate that. So obviously this is one of the great connections, love affairs, relationship, friendships, but it is one of so many stories, right? And so it's here, it's like those networks that go out. So Marla Wynne, thank you so much for saying yes, both times. Maybe we should do this again. It was so much fun. We'll go through all the feedback and see what we learned. Everyone, by the way, loved seeing the clothes. So honestly, I'm going to throw this out here for you. Maybe, I know you have more stuff. Maybe we should do a little virtual fashion show. I know it seems like we shouldn't in some ways. In other ways, I think putting us just, I don't know. I think there's something there that's positive. Oh my God, there I am being positive. Damn, Donna.
There you go. Donna, thank you so much for doing this. To everybody who joined in, thank you for being with us. I'll be back on Friday with what we call TGIF. I think it's Friday because I can't remember what day it is. So we're here every Monday and Friday. Refresh is on Wednesdays, and we hope you'll all join us.
Thank you, darling.
Bye, honey. Thank you.